Hey guys, BJ the Brave here, and it is the end of 2024 or near enough. And I just wanted to do a bit of a different video today. It's coming up to Christmas, and it's that kind of time to reflect a little bit on the year and just think about, I like to sort of think about all the things I'm grateful for a little bit. And I just thought, Warpforge has been huge. Huge part of my life this year, and yeah, I just thought it'd be good to come up for air and kind of like just reflect on the year that we've had in Warpforge. There's so much that's happened, and really just share with you guys like some of my highlights of the year. And if you're new to the game, this will kind of bring you up to speed a little bit. And if you've been playing the game throughout, hopefully you can enjoy reminiscing with me. And yeah, just kind of like really want to just kind of share what stood out for me and celebrate the community and all the kind of highlights of the year, really. So let's jump in, shall we? So right at the start of the year, for me, the first memory that I've got and the first thing I want to kind of talk about is the almost very scary start to 2024, and Ecclesiarch saves the game. And of course, those who were playing back in January know exactly what I'm talking about. We had the new cards, the Terror of Vardengast, coming, and in the January balance patch, we just had a December meta where Ghazghkull was just absolutely brutal. And they basically proposed some changes to the Neurothrope and to the Tyranids that were going to, in a nutshell, we're going to completely break the game. And Ecclesiarch put out that almost infamous video, almost like a plea to EG to say, please reverse this patch, do not let this patch go live on Monday. It's going to break the game. And it really would have. It really would have been, I think, probably the most offensive meta we've ever had. And what was brilliant is, and I appreciate it forever, is that EG listened to that, they took it on board, and they did actually make the change and not release the patch in that state. So yeah, very scary, almost scary start to the year. And then of course we got we got the Terror release, and it was a little bit underwhelming. And I think the first kind of big highlight for me was actually the next reinforcement drop, which was the Orcs. And when the Orc reinforcement drop came out, we got for me it was a brilliant reinforcement because we got new ways to play the game. This is what introduced the Grizzled Scarboy, the armor, and this just was so exciting for me because Warpforge is a very tempo-based game, and up to that point, it had been. And this really unlocked the sort of like classic control. If you've played other CCGs, the classic control archetypes, and we got like the mill, the fatigue kind of Ghazghkull builds, the armoring up, and it just unlocked a whole new way of playing. And I really will always remember the Orc reinforcement drop for that. Like I really want to see more of that from the game. I'll get onto my wish list for the future in probably the next video actually, but this is looking back. But I do think that a reinforcement that opens up completely new ways of playing is a really great thing for the game. So the Orc reinforcement really stood out for me. I think the next thing that really hit me so hard in 2024 and was just super hype, super exciting, was of course the Tau release. Now, for those who don't know, the Tau faction were the first full faction new release that we got since like early access. So we'd had a couple of reinforcements at this point, but they were the first full faction. And guys, this was just so exciting for me. Like Tau were one of my favorite. I collected Tau in the tabletop game, and they're one of my favorite racers. We call them factions in Warpforge, but they're like, man, the hype around the whole new release. I still think to this day, like, new releases, new factions are just so much more exciting than the reinforcement drops. And the Tau just brought it. Like, they had great new mechanics at the time. They've been nerfed quite heavily. They were very powerful on release, but they brought really great new, marker light and drone synergies. The Crisis battle suits, I obviously made some like battle suit decks, which were really popular at the time, and it just had completely new ways of playing. So for me, as someone who enjoys deck building and bringing new archetypes to the game, it was just so much fun diving in and having this whole new race, new factions, new mechanics to play. It was super hype, and from a content, you know, and the community, everybody was getting hyped for it, and there was a lot of engagement. So I really loved the Tau. That was super cool. I think another standout for me has been the podcast. For those of you who don't know, we've got Forgecast, which I do with the Ecclesiarch. We have guests on as well throughout. But I think you know, Forgecast has been a lot of fun for me, like, because hanging out with Ecclesiarch and touching base with him, and it's just a nice chance to just talk about the game and kind of like I even listen back to them, you know, because I just really enjoy like podcasts around my hobby, and it's been a lot of fun doing that with Ecclesiarch. And also big thanks to everyone who's got involved and joined an episode. And I think a real highlight, and it was definitely on our bucket list for me and Ecclesiarch, was getting Andreas from EG, co-founder, on. That was awesome. We actually had Andreas on twice this year. I definitely advise, if you've not listened to them, go back and listen to them, because they're still very relevant. And it was just so cool hanging out with the devs and hanging out with the guy who made the game, basically, you know, and like being able to just get excited about things that were coming up. The roadmaps spring to mind, and you know, even getting to play Imperial Guard early. Massive thanks to EG and Andreas for that. That was a real highlight. But we just love the fact that we've been able to open that communication and dialogue, and long may it continue in 2025. And speaking of which, I think one of the big highlights for me this year, which I don't have a visual here, it's on my videos, it's on my live ones, was the celebration stream. So when I hit 1,000 subscribers, we had a 12-hour megathon stream. And it wasn't just me streaming playing the game, like it was a schedule. We had giveaways. I promoted it a lot, so we had loads of people from the community, loads of people dropping in. I remember like Shimatsu and Barik and Ecclesiarch and Longtim and all the kind of usual culprits who had been on my previous videos and stuff, and I just loved that. It was a real memory. I'll never forget that stream, because it for me was like a real community thing. Like everybody was like involved, the chat was hyped, and it was just so cool. And like I started drinking about halfway through, and I think by the end of the 12 hours I was so desperately trying to hang on. And I remember people in chat being like, I think BJ's fallen asleep. I was just dying. I think 12 hours is probably just a little bit too much. Maybe I could do 8 again, but I think 12 was it just killed me. But I tell you what, it was worth it. It was so much fun, and definitely one of my highlights of 2024. What else? What else happened this year that was super cool? Yeah, I think one of the highlights for me when I was really thinking about the content was around the kind of the GSC release, right? Because when the GSC came out, I wasn't into Genestealer Cults in terms of like you know, in terms of the lore and the background, and I thought I wasn't going to get that excited. But what was really cool, and definitely a massive memory in terms of you know, the kind of decks that I've built, is this one here. This is busted. Like I love, this is one of my favorite decks that I came up with. It was the combo the day of ascension approaches, and like just the fact that I keep cosplaying that voice. People have done snips from my streams and memes from it and stuff, and it was just a really cool month. Like, it was a fun deck. It was obviously crazy, a lot of fun on stream doing the cosplaying the voice every time. The Neophyte Initiative just swarmed the board, and yeah, and also just think the GSC are a beautifully designed faction. Like, there's a lot of like subtle combinations in there and stuff. I'm really looking forward to getting back and playing some Genestealers. Maybe next season I'll come back to GSC. So they were like the big surprise for me, because like I said, I wasn't into the lore. I wasn't expecting me to really get into them, and they just pulled me in through great design, really fun, and again, some awesome streams playing the Uprising Day of Ascension deck. So that was super cool. Yeah, another highlight. Obviously, we got alliances. Now, one of the fun things about alliances was I had no idea what they were. I don't play a lot of games where these are common. I've come from CCGs, and CCGs typically don't really have alliances. And so I always had Ecclesiarch in the podcast, like telling me, "Oh, alliances are great. You know, they this is what it is. This is what," and I'm like, I don't get it. I don't. I'm not hyped, and I don't really understand like what it's all about. But you know, the cool thing was that the alliance hit, and what I would say is, even though there's not been tons of like in-game incentive and support, what's been very cool is starting out an alliance, and basically we've built another great sub community. We've got a Discord on there. And what we've done recently, by the way, you're allowed 20 people in Alliance. If you're interested in joining my Alliance and you're a Legend rank player, then let me know. What we do is we've actually built it a little bit broader than the 20. So we've got a squad, because we realise that people have waves of enthusiasm with the game. Some people play really hard one season, then they don't want to play the next season. That's fine. So what we're doing is we're building a squad where we're all always there and live and active on Discord, and any squad member can access that anytime. We share decks, we cross stream sometimes. There's a lot of good chat and interaction. But the other cool thing is that if you want to kind of like bow out, you can bow out. So we just like kick the two least active players, and then we let someone who is active play, and that means that you can kind of take a bit of a break and come back in. So we found our own kind of flow as an alliance, and that's working okay, I think. And met some great people, and I really am grateful. I really want to say a massive thanks to everyone in my alliance, because it's been really fun, like hanging out, building that additional sub-community has been really cool. Everyone's been super helpful, and you get that kind of teamwork vibe going on, which is a lot of fun. And so yeah, alliances have also been quite a nice surprise. And yeah, then of course we had the Imperial Guard land, and not only did we get the Imperial Guard, but we also got the full launch of the game. And I think what stands out for me there is I went down a bit of a different route, because we got a lot of new players come in, and I can remember like making these videos here, the new to Warpforge series, and if you've not watched them, go watch them. I spent a lot of time editing and making these. They're not like your usual videos. I actually did a bit of video editing and effects and stuff like that, and it was really cool, like really fun little side project to do. EG were great. They actually shared my videos when they put on deals, and it was a bit of a collab with them. And yeah, and I also at this time did my beginner to legend run, and I'll definitely never forget this, and I'm keen to do another one, maybe with the Dark Angels. Let me know in the comments if that's something you'd like to see. And the whole idea here was that I created a Smurf account to understand what it's like as a beginner and as a free-to-play player, and just basically go from the start of the game and see if I could get to legend. And I put a clock on there, and we timed how long it took me to do, and I did like 6 big sessions, and it finally got there with it, and that was really fun. It was a different way to play the game. It made me appreciate cards that you perhaps, if you're just always on the meta, you don't appreciate, you don't get to use the full faction. And I had to use cards that weren't necessarily top tier, but I found a way to make them work, and that was a really fun experience. So I kind of like, yeah, I really enjoyed that period. Loads of new players coming in, lots of people asking, and it was great for the community. And really great for the game growing. And Imperial Guard were a lot of fun as well. And I also think Imperial Guard are a really good, or Astra Militarum as we call them, they're a really good beginner faction, by the way. You know, they're designed in a way where they're easy to pick up, and a lot of the common cards are very good, so you don't need like loads of legendaries. If you're new to the game, 100% would recommend Astra Militarum as your first faction. Yeah, so I think lots of real highlights. Lots of real highlights, and of course we've got the Dark Angels about to come, and I'm super hyped for that. And you know, I just think it's been a really awesome year overall. I think the game's in a great spot. I think EG have done a great job with the game, developing it nicely, adding new features, listening to the community, and giving us lots of new things to challenge ourselves with, and new ways to enjoy the game. So yeah, I mean, I just want to say just a couple of things. Just massive thank you first of all to EG and to the developers for the game, because at the end of the day, if we're playing this game, we're playing it because we're enjoying it, and that's down to them. They've created this game, they've created this space, and as someone who has been a 40k fan since I was a little boy, This is like my dream come true, right? It's a CCG, which is my favorite type of game, and it's 40k, which is one of my favorite IPs. So it's literally like a dream come true. And massive thanks to EJ, so responsive to they've been great. I've been able to email, they've been supported my content, my stream, but most of all, I think they've just done a great job with the game, and listening to the community and being open to feedback, and Andreas coming on the podcast and letting us know what's going on. I think it's just been fantastic. So massive shout out to every single person at EG. We really appreciate everything you've done. And I think last, I just want to say a massive thanks to the community, because I think ultimately, I think this community is great. You know, the Discord is always active. We get people coming in on stream chats, people going in the different factions on there and helping each other. People are just incredibly open. I always ask people to share deck lists, because we don't have a lot of data to do things like meta reports and content, and people are really open. And even like top players who understandably want to guard their decks when they're trying to like compete, you know, I've been amazed at how open people have been and just shared deck lists with me. And I just want to say, if you're one of those people, a massive thank you, because I couldn't really do this content without you and without that. It's really, you know, a lot of what I get to present on this channel isn't just BJ's ideas or BJ's information and knowledge. It's BJ listening to the community, asking other great players, learning, you know, and I can't do that if the community is not open and supportive, which you have been. And everyone who comes along in the streams, in the chat, in the comments, guys, I just love it. It keeps me going. I think it brings the game to life, and it gives us an extra layer of things to get excited about and to kind of just enjoy this hobby that we all love together. So massive thanks. And also just you know, I've already said a big thanks to my alliance, the guys. Everything I just said about the community times 10 to those guys, for all the help and support and openness. And yeah, and lastly, just again to my fellow content creators, the Ecclesiarch. You know, again, I've said it a million times, he's always been like my content creator. He's the first guy I found like on YouTube that I really like connected with when I got into the game and I was looking for content. He's been super awesome, open, supportive, going through a bit of a rough time in his country at the minute as well. So he's having a little bit of a break, but he's going to be back soon, and we're going to do a Christmas podcast together. So huge thanks to him. And obviously also we've got other creators, Long Tim, again, go give Long Tim a subscribe. He's very close to 1,000 subs now, and he's really pushing for that. And Tim's also been another constant in the community and puts out great content. I always enjoy his videos as well. And he you know, Tim's just a great kind of center point for the community. I think he's got a really nice way in communicating with everybody. He brings people together, and it's great having people like that, you know, putting out content regularly. And we've got new people coming in as well, people like Silverblade. I'm really enjoying his channel. Go give Silverblade a sub, especially if you're an ultramarine player. He does some great content there and stuff. So thanks to everybody else who is making content. I know there's names I've forgotten, but anyone who's making content, streaming and supporting the game, huge shout out to you guys. So yeah, guys, 2024 is nearly over. We've just got the Dark Angels to come, and I just want to say I think it's been a great year. I've really enjoyed it. And what I'm going to do in my next video is I'm going to talk about my wish list for the game, things I want to see for 2025. So check that one out. And thank you for all the support, and I'll see you guys in the next one.